Night has a way of revealing truths we try to ignore during the day. You lie in bed, hoping for rest, but instead your body whispers, or sometimes shouts, with stiffness, swelling, or pain that wasn't as loud a few hours ago. Many people over 50 shrug it off, thinking, I'm just getting older. But here's the truth. Not all nighttime discomfort is normal, and some of it can quietly signal that arthritis is taking a stronger hold than you realize. Ignoring those signals can mean letting inflammation chip away at your joints, your mobility, and even your independence. I'm Dr. Brian, and welcome to Channel Wellness Blueprint Over 50. Tonight, I want to share with you 3 nighttime warning signs that arthritis patients must never ignore. Signs that, if caught early, can help you reclaim not only more comfortable sleep, but a healthier tomorrow. I want you to imagine something with me. You've had a long day. Maybe you cooked dinner, folded laundry, even got a short walk in because you promised yourself you'd keep moving. You go to bed hoping for rest. But when morning comes, your knees feel locked. Your fingers look puffier than the night before, and instead of rising with energy, you feel like you're dragging chains around your joints. That stiffness and swelling is not just inconvenient, it's your body's flare signal. A red flare in the night sky saying, pay attention to me. I've had patients come to me after years of brushing this off. One woman, June, age 64, used to laugh that she was just rusty in the mornings. But by the time she finally sought help, the fluid in her knees had eroded her cartilage more than we'd have liked, leaving her with constant discomfort even after simple activities. If she had taken her nighttime stiffness seriously earlier, we might have slowed that progression and given her many more years of freedom in her steps. So what's happening inside the body when the swelling shows up? Think of your joints as little door hinges. When hinges are well oiled, the door opens and closes smoothly. But if rainwater seeps in and rust starts to build, those hinges grind, stick, and swell with corrosion. In arthritis, your body creates its own kind of rust. Inflammation releases chemicals that pull fluid into the joint space. That fluid builds pressure, stretching tissues and making movement stiff and painful. Instead of a smooth hinge, you've got a swollen, waterlogged one. And here's the dangerous part. Inflammation doesn't just stop at stiffness. Over time, it can wear down cartilage and change the very shape of the joint. A study published in the journal Arthritis and Rheumatology showed that persistent nighttime swelling correlated with faster progression of joint damage in older adults, even more so than daytime pain. In other words, your night symptoms can sometimes tell the truest story about how active your arthritis really is. So what can you do when your body is whispering or yelling through stiffness and swelling at night? One of the first and simplest tools is food. Nature has given us powerful allies against inflammation. Turmeric, that golden spice you may have in your kitchen, contains a compound called curcumin. Think of it as a firefighter moving through your bloodstream, pouring cool water over the flames of inflammation. Patients who added turmeric tea in the evening often told me they felt less puffy in the mornings and moved with more ease. Omega-3 fatty acids found in salmon, walnuts, and flax seeds are another gift. They act like lubricants for your hinges, keeping motion smoother and less painful. Hydration is another underestimated tool. I sometimes explain it like this. A sponge left dry overnight becomes stiff and brittle, but a sponge soaked in water remains flexible. Your joints behave similarly. If you go to bed even mildly dehydrated, your tissues are more likely to swell and stiffen. Sipping water in the evening, not too much right before bed, but enough to stay balanced, can make mornings feel a little less like climbing out of concrete. Gentle stretching is another nightly ritual I recommend. I don't mean long, exhausting yoga sessions. I mean 5 quiet minutes before bed. Circling your ankles, slowly lifting your arms, gently twisting your torso. It signals to your body, I'm preparing you for rest, but I'm not leaving you frozen. Think of it as tucking your joints into bed so they wake up less cranky. Heat can also be your friend. A warm compress or heating pad before sleep increases blood flow, like opening a window in a stuffy room. That circulation carries away some of the inflammatory chemicals and relaxes tight muscles, easing pressure on your joints. Patients often tell me that 15 minutes with a heating pad on their knees feels like their body finally exhales. But perhaps most importantly, Don't ignore the message. If your joints are swollen and stiff most nights, your treatment plan may not be keeping up with your arthritis. This is the moment to speak with your healthcare provider. Sometimes that means adjusting medication, sometimes adding physical therapy, sometimes introducing new anti-inflammatory strategies. The worst step you can take is no step at all. I always remind my patients that stiffness and swelling are not punishments from aging. They're signals. They're your body's way of asking for care, for adjustment, for partnership. And when you respond, you're not just easing tonight's discomfort, you're protecting tomorrow's mobility, tomorrow's independence, tomorrow's ability to walk your grandchild to the park without hesitation. So the next time you wake with stiff fingers or swollen knees, I want you to remember June's story. Don't laugh it off as rusty joints. Instead, hear the message, I'm inflamed, I need attention. And know that with the right care, from food, from movement, from warmth, and from your doctor's guidance, you can ease that swelling, quiet the stiffness, and protect your joints for the long road ahead. If you've ever lain awake at 2 in the morning, clutching your knee or rubbing your shoulder, you know how cruel nighttime pain can be. During the day, at least you're distracted. Conversations, errands, the hum of activity dulls the edges. But at night, when the world quiets down, your pain has a way of shouting louder. Patients often tell me the darkness feels heavier when it's filled with discomfort. They whisper, "Why is it always worse at night, Dr. Brian?" The truth is, your body follows rhythms, much like the tides of the ocean. During the day, movement acts like waves, keeping your joints lubricated. Every step, every gesture stirs up the fluid inside your joints, preventing stiffness. But at night, when the waves go still, the waters grow stagnant. The joint fluid thickens, inflammation sneaks in, and suddenly your knees feel like they've been replaced with blocks of cement. Add to that the natural drop in cortisol, the hormone that helps regulate inflammation, and you've got the perfect recipe for nighttime flare-ups. It's not your imagination, it's biology working against you. I'll never forget Harold, a 72-year-old retired carpenter who came to see me. He said, "Doc, I can work through the pain all day with my tools, but when I try to rest, that's when it really gets me." He would toss and turn, every position bringing a new ache, until exhaustion finally overpowered discomfort. But by then, he was left unrested, drained, and unable to fully enjoy the activities he loved the next day. His story is common, but it doesn't have to be the ending. Pain at night robs you of more than sleep. Rest is when your body repairs itself, when your immune system recalibrates, when your brain consolidates memory. Without restorative sleep, pain intensifies in a vicious cycle. The less you sleep, the more sensitive your nerves become, and the more amplified your discomfort feels. It's like turning up the volume knob on a stereo that's already too loud. That's why learning how to break this cycle matters so deeply. The first place I often start with patients is their sleeping position. Imagine a door hinge again. If you wedge the door at an odd angle overnight, by morning, the hinge is stressed and creaky. Your joints are no different. Placing a pillow between your knees if you sleep on your side, or under your arms if shoulder arthritis troubles you, keeps the joints aligned and supported. A good, firm pillow under the head keeps the neck in line with the spine, preventing added strain. Simple changes like these can be surprisingly powerful. But beyond positioning, there's the environment itself. Heat is a soothing balm for many. A warm compress before bed can soften tense muscles and increase circulation, like letting warm sunlight melt frost on a window. For Harold, I recommended soaking in a warm bath with Epsom salts before sleep. He later told me, with tears in his eyes, that it was the first time in months he had fallen asleep without clutching his shoulder in pain. That single change opened the door to better rest, which in turn softened his pain further. Natural remedies also hold promise. Turmeric again earns its reputation as a nighttime ally, but ginger deserves a place at the table too. A warm cup of ginger tea before bed not only eases digestion, but carries anti-inflammatory compounds that calm the body. It's like tucking your joints in under a cozy blanket. Patients who tried this often described it as a ritual, not just medicine, but a moment of peace before bed. Temperature plays another role many overlook. When a room is too warm, inflammation can worsen. Much like bread dough rising faster in heat, a cooler sleeping environment slows that rise, easing the inflammatory storm. Lowering the thermostat or using a light fan can create a calm, restorative space for both body and mind. Now, for some, pain is severe enough that these strategies alone aren't enough. This is where medical partnership becomes essential. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, or NSAIDs, can offer relief, but they're not without risks if used long-term. For Harold, we carefully adjusted his regimen to balance relief with safety and combined it with these nightly habits. His improvement didn't come overnight, but gradually he reclaimed rest, and with rest came renewed energy to do the woodworking he loved. Science backs this up. A 2019 study in Frontiers in Medicine found that patients with arthritis who reported worse sleep also had significantly higher markers of inflammation in their blood. In other words, poor sleep doesn't just reflect pain, it fuels it. By protecting your nights, you're protecting your joints as surely as if you were taking medicine. I often tell my patients this: pain that grows louder at night is not a punishment. It's a signal that your body's rhythm is off balance. By listening and responding, through sleep position, warmth, cooling the room, or natural remedies, you begin to restore that rhythm. The goal is not just fewer hours of pain, but fuller days of living. Nights reclaimed become mornings greeted with energy instead of dread. So, if you're lying awake tonight, feeling your joints protest louder than your thoughts can quiet, remember, Harold. Remember that change is possible. Pain may speak more loudly in the silence of night, but with the right care, you can turn down the volume, rest deeply, and rise to meet the day with strength and hope. There's a moment many of my patients describe with a mix of frustration and sadness. The alarm rings, sunlight slips through the curtains, and yet their body refuses to answer the call. Their knees feel cemented, their hands stiff like wooden blocks, their back locked tight. It's as if the body whispers, "Not today." For some, it takes minutes to loosen up. For others, nearly an hour before they can move with any sense of comfort. This difficulty moving upon waking isn't just morning grogginess. It's arthritis sending a message about what happened overnight. When you sleep, you're still for hours. Think again of that sponge we talked about. Leave it dry and untouched all night, and by morning, it's brittle and resistant. Your joints behave similarly. The synovial fluid, that natural lubrication inside your joints, becomes thicker with inactivity. Without movement to stir it, your hinges seize up. Add to this the reality that inflammation can quietly build overnight, and you wake not refreshed, but imprisoned in your own body. One of my patients, Rosa, age 68, came to me with tears in her eyes. She said, "Dr. Brian, every morning feels like climbing out of quicksand. By the time I finally loosen up, half the day is gone." She was discouraged, feeling robbed of her mornings, and she feared this would only worsen with time. But Rosa's story, like so many others, reminded me how much can be done once we start paying attention. The first step in easing morning stiffness is simple movement, even if your body resists at first. I often tell my patients, you don't wait to feel limber before you move to become limber. Stretching in bed before your feet even touch the floor can make all the difference. Slowly roll your ankles, flex and extend your fingers, take gentle neck circles. These aren't workouts, they're wake-up calls to your joints. Within minutes, blood begins to flow, synovial fluid warms and thins, and stiffness eases. For Rosa, I suggested a short routine. 3 minutes of simple stretches each morning. She returned weeks later, smiling, saying, "I'm greeting the day again, not fighting it." Heat therapy is another ally for those difficult mornings. A warm compress on your knees before rising, or even better, a warm shower, acts like the sun thawing frost. Muscles relax, joints loosen, and suddenly the idea of walking to the kitchen doesn't feel so daunting. Many of my patients tell me they plan their mornings around that first warm shower because it transforms them from stiff and stuck to mobile and ready. Food plays a surprising role here too. What you choose at breakfast can set the tone for your entire day. Anti-inflammatory foods such as chia seeds, walnuts, or flax mixed into oatmeal give your joints the building blocks they need to fight swelling. One of my favorite recommendations is warm lemon water with a pinch of turmeric. It hydrates, delivers anti-inflammatory power, and gently awakens digestion all at once. Patients often describe it as a morning ritual that not only eases stiffness, but brings a sense of control over their condition. Of course, some cases of morning stiffness are stubborn. When it lingers for hours or grows worse, it may mean your arthritis treatment plan needs adjusting. Disease-modifying medications or other therapies may be necessary. This is where partnership with your doctor is vital. Stiffness is not simply an annoyance, it's a clinical clue. I remind patients that reporting it honestly can help us tailor their care, protecting their joints before more serious damage occurs. Sleep quality itself also plays a role. If your sleep is shallow, restless, or constantly interrupted, your body doesn't get the restorative healing it craves. Poor sleep raises stress hormones, fueling inflammation and making stiffness more severe. That's why I encourage sleep hygiene. Dimming lights before bed, keeping a consistent bedtime, even considering magnesium supplements to help muscles relax overnight. When your sleep deepens, your mornings lighten. Science supports this link. Research published in the Journal of Clinical Rheumatology highlighted how patients with rheumatoid arthritis who improved their sleep routines reported significantly less morning stiffness. In other words, tending to your nights can soften your mornings. But beyond science and strategies, I want you to hear this. Waking stiff doesn't mean your life is shrinking. It means your body is asking for rhythm, for warmth, for nourishment, for attention. With small, consistent steps, mornings can transform from battles into beginnings again. Rosa, the patient who once felt trapped in her bed, now starts her day with gentle stretches, a warm shower, and turmeric tea. She told me, "Mornings are mine again. I don't dread them anymore." That shift gave her not only mobility, but joy. The freedom to meet her grandchildren at the park, to walk her garden in the early light, to reclaim a sense of possibility. So if you feel locked in place when you first wake, know this is not the end of the road. It's an invitation to listen, to care, to adapt. Your joints may protest, but with kindness, movement, warmth, and the right guidance, they will loosen. And each step you take out of bed is more than a movement. It's a victory. So tonight, as you prepare for rest, remember this. Your body speaks, especially in the quiet hours. Persistent stiffness, pain that grows louder in the night, and difficulty moving come morning are not just inconveniences. They are signals, gentle but urgent, that your joints need care. By listening, by making small, steady changes, warmth, movement, nourishing foods, medical guidance, you can turn those signals into strength. I'm Dr. Brian, and my deepest hope is this, that you wake tomorrow not with fear of pain, but with trust that healing and joy remain possible, even after 50.